yes, guys. Welcome back to the channel. All right, let's get everyone in here. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Let me know if everything sounds good, looks good. I think we're good. Get the drum roll going. Okay, all right. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to Dano Crypto. On this channel, we show you guys how to make simple, effective, and easy moves in the cryptocurrency ecosystems. So this next couple of months, the rest of this year, going into basically the final innings of a banana zone run is where we're at right now. But it's going to be ranged. It's going to be pulled into some support levels where we are going to see some volatility. That's what's happening right now. We're starting to see a little bit of some outflows, not as much inflows into the ETFs for Ethereum. So that kind of slowed down a little bit of the pace. But I think we're still, even with these pullbacks here, I think mainly it was just a liquidity flush off of Jerome Powell not cutting the rates. So we were expected that they were not going to cut the rates by the CME watch. If you were looking at the CME watch and looking at the percentage chance of a cut, the market was pricing in that, okay, look, they're not going to cut the rates for this particular FOMC meeting. We have 1, 2, 3 meetings left. And Jerome Powell was very hawkish on a percentage chance that we would be cutting rates in September as well. But it could be that Jerome Powell ends up resigning before this September 17th meeting, or he gets fired. But here's the thing. We don't know if the president can actually fire Jerome Powell. It has to be a decision by the committee. There's 12 or 14. Between 12 and 15 other members that are a part of the board and the committee of the Federal Reserve, and with Jerome Powell being the sitting chair, they all have to have a unanimous agreement on having a new chairman put in place. They would have to vote on it. I think there's a lot more than what we understand as if, Trump and the Trump administration can just fire Powell. I don't think they can. There's definitely a separation from the Fed and the government in terms of administration control over the Fed, and they've tried to keep it that way for a reason. And so now that we know that Jerome Powell, even with the pressure from Trump, him going to the Federal Reserve, scrutinizing the budget and on this new Federal Reserve construction project, all of this pressure in the media, and also to show you the more of this pressure. Look, this was just posted today. He said, Jerome, too late Powell has done it again. He is too late and actually too angry, too stupid, and too political to have the job of Fed chair. He is costing our country trillions of dollars in addition to one of the most incompetent or corrupt renovations of buildings in the history of construction. Because apparently the budget, it was started at 1.2, then it increased to 2.3. Now it is at a total of 3.5 to almost $4 billion to do this Federal Reserve building renovation. And so to put in another way, too late is a total loser, and our country is paying the price. This is directly from President Donald Trump, speaking about Jerome Powell, who is the federal chair. So this has been constant over the past couple weeks, over the past couple months, that Trump is not happy with Jerome Powell. He thinks he's not going the right direction in terms of the economy, and it's because the Fed is still tightening. They're still in QT, which is basically quantitative tightening. I don't know why. Quantitative tightening. What does that mean? For a long time, we were like, what the heck is quantitative tightening and easing? Well, I guess the best way that we can describe it and that we understand it is that there's points in the markets in these 4-year cycles, whether it be where there's more liquidity and less liquidity, there's more risk on, there's more risk off. So whenever there is risk off, there is also a tightening. And then when there's risk on, there's a little bit more of an easing. The interest rates are a little lower. There's more money to be flowing. They're easier to and more apt to just be putting money into circulation. But I think with the Fed here, they are going off of trying to do this soft landing with inflation, coming off of inflation from COVID. So they have basically been playing the game of we are coming off of COVID and coming out of the 4 years, and this is the result that we have to do this soft landing. So we got to tighten everything up still a little bit. And so this is what the Fed has been doing, and the Trump administration and the people that are Treasury Secretary, you got Scott Bessent, you got Howard Lutnick, and all these people, all these smart people, way smarter than we are, about the global economics, and finance of the United States and how we're navigating all this. They do not agree with Powell that we should still be at this high of interest rates, because the rest of the world have cut rates to 2%, and I think some of them are even lower than 2%. So this is really interesting how we're still over 4%, And so what does that do? Well, it's making it a lot harder for the Trump team to accomplish their goal. They want to be able to basically resurface and refinance the debt in a way. And the only way they can do that is by having lower interest rates and being able to have a better flow of capital and money. And so how are they doing this now? Well, they're doing it through the legislation of crypto, and they're doing it through the minting of stable coins. They're doing it through the setup of these treasuries. And the question that everyone is asking is, okay, how is the government actually buying Bitcoin and setting up a dominance in Bitcoin? Well, guess what? It's through people like Jack Mallers and MicroStrategy and all these people, these CEOs that are creating Bitcoin treasury companies. So these companies that they're creating, think about Jack Mallers. He has his own very successful company that's been affiliated with Bitcoin, Strike. He's got the Strike app, Bitcoin on-chain wallet, all the different services that Strike has been able to offer. But now they're going to be offering these services on an institutional level where they can get access to capital. And Jack, along with Howard Lutnick and the CEO of Tether, these are two big institutions that are able to have access to massive capital, and they are buying Bitcoin and they're holding Bitcoin and they're denominating things and their services in the value of what their shareholders and what their customers are going to view their gains in and their metrics. It's denominated and divisible in Bitcoin and sats. So for the first time ever, they are signaling that over the next 5-10 years, some of these things and services and these Bitcoin products are going to actually be divisible, not in dollars, but signaling that it's divisible in Bitcoin. So it's kind of like the Bitcoin maxi's dream of having institutional adoption in reference to denominating things in sats, and basically it's valued in sats. So then it switches this whole mindset of how things are valued in dollars, because look, Jack Mallers explains things are divisible in dollars, but everything's going up like this, this is going up in dollars and this is going up in dollars. So it's not it's a different type of form of divisible reference to the value of whatever it is. So it might make more sense now that things are going to start being valued in sats, and we might have to start thinking about it a little bit differently and start thinking, oh, okay, that's worth 0.01, that's worth 0.02, that's worth 0.05, that's worth 0.5, whatever it may be. That might be the future, where we're starting to devise things in satoshis and sats. But this is where people are wondering where the U.S. is going to have the dominance for Bitcoin. It might not them be buying Bitcoin themselves. It's the companies. That's the treasury. Everyone's wondering, what's the Bitcoin treasury? It's the companies. The United States is signaling that they want these companies to set up the treasuries, buy Bitcoin, and be holding it in the United States as American companies. So it's just that's how we can compete with other countries in terms of the energy that we're producing. This is how we can do it. And then think to double that, the Trump administration and the Trump family, they have their own company. I can't remember exactly what the name of it is. I'll have to go back and do the research on it. But they have a Bitcoin mining company that they are setting up that will have, I think, a potential stock and a connected stock with it. And not to mention, that's the fad here now, is that we have companies that are offering stock options and different forms of getting exposure into Bitcoin by buying their particular stock, So it's all of these different services that are being connected with liquidity with Bitcoin, but ultimately it just gets me bullish. It just gets me bullish to be in this ecosystem that, retail in a sense is not understanding that this is where the big money's going. It's like it's all coming on chain in this way. We had to get the legislative, things in order. It started with the stable coins. Then it was, with the actual big, beautiful bill that had, crypto provisions, but it was more so about the taxes and about the way that we were going to, how are we going to deal with the debt? Well, we just raised the debt ceiling because it's just, there's no other way. It's like, that's kind of seems like the play. There's just like, okay, keep moving the goalpost until a new fusion or new technology kind of comes into play. And so that's basically what's been happening. And so because the Fed has a lot of control still, and it's like everything is denominated in the value of the US dollar because of the strength of the US dollar still being the top currency technically, top fiat currency. It's still trash, but it's still what we value things in the world globally on a global trade scale. But we know that the Fed has just been printing money. So they've been printing money like crazy. They're going to continue to print money. And what have they been putting that money in for the longest time? Well, a lot of smart people were putting it in gold. They were putting it in gold. We showed you that the gold weekly macro was the leading indicator for risk on into not holding the dollar. So it's basically like the dollar was risk, being on in the dollar was very risky. So people were risk off on holding dollars since 2008, from the 2008 financial crash. And even as it ran up from there to 2012, gold consolidated, but then you can see this giant cup and handle pattern. And we are comparing this as the leading indicator to then be in stocks, just to be in the stock market, be in crypto as well, even going from the origins of Bitcoin and going back from, because remember from here, Bitcoin was created in 2009. And then you can see that gold basically looks like the total cryptocurrency market cap chart as a whole, even going back to as far as 2013, 2014. And you can see that if you were just in crypto and had exposure and had even just a little bit of skin in the game and start understanding that this is where all of that liquidity ends up going, is into these assets. And now more than ever, it's going into crypto, because 3.8 trillion is nothing compared to what we're seeing right now in terms of, the market cap of gold and also the market cap of a lot of these big companies like Amazon and Microsoft and all that stuff. And if maybe we go look at this real quick, we'll look at Okay, it was an asset market cap. Asset market cap we like using. Let's go to asset market cap and let's get a reminder of how big gold is compared to Bitcoin, and then these other big companies. So we have, and then the dollar too. You don't ever think about the market cap of the dollar. It's 22 trillion. 22 trillion. We have gold at 22.5 trillion, and the yuan at 45 trillion. They got the yuan, and remember the U.S. dollar, the yuan is pegged to the dollar. The yuan is actually pegged to the dollar. They're pegged with each other. And I didn't know that for the longest time, but then I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then very much connected with the yen as well. So the yen, the dollar, and the yuan are some of these stronger currencies, maybe even more strong. The yen being stronger than the euro. But check this out. We got Bitcoin at 2.3 trillion. So at a point, we're going to see even just 5%, 2%, 3%, even just these small percentages from each of these market caps being a big one being real estate. Like, this is the thing that the big real estate whales started to offload real estate. Think about the Cardones. The Cardones were like, man, we really are starting to crunch the numbers on how much it's actually costing us to hold some of these properties, because we're paying for property tax, we're paying for housing insurance. Some of these properties are having repairs, especially the properties that were in like a lot of these disaster areas where it's flooding. I mean, just a nightmare. So you got to imagine that these people that were heavy real estate moguls are starting to now understand that, man, all they had to do was buy some Bitcoin back in the day, and think of the correlation between how many Bitcoins you could have gotten with, say, buying because think about it. You buy a house and you're an investor, real estate investor. And you might not be buying some of these properties cash. You're actually getting mortgages. You're actually getting mortgages and making sure that you're getting enough capital and cap rate for cap percentage rate for what you are having to pay for the mortgage. And then it's just like, so think about it. You are putting down money on this particular property, and say back in 2012 or however, let's just go to a Bitcoin price at, because I remember how much the houses were back in 2021, 2022. A lot of the houses the market wasn't too oversaturated. It wasn't overvalued up until the point where it started to get in 2022 was when it started to, it was like that real estate like craziness. So some of these houses were being sold for $250,000, $300,000, $350,000. Now those same houses are now still overvalued, being overvalued at over $100,000. And some of those are probably going to be dropping back down to those levels. But either way, you have to put 10% down. You have to put 10% down. So say you get a house, 10% down on $300,000. That's a lot. So imagine putting that same amount into Bitcoin in 2021 or 2022. Look at the difference of what the amount of liquidity and income you could have if you had just bought a whole Bitcoin instead. Instead of putting a down payment on a house or an investment property that has a lot of counterparty risk. And I'm not the only one that goes into this. I mean, Michael Saylor actually does a great example and analogies of how counterparty risk is the biggest destroyer of wealth over time, because it becomes more of a thing that you have to service it. And especially with real estate, it's just It's just very sorry. It's 20%. Not sorry. I would say 10%. I was sorry. It's actually 20%. Yeah, 20% down. So it's 20% to avoid mortgage insurance. Okay, so yeah, because I have to go back and kind of remember exactly how much we put down on our house, because we put down, I think we put down like 15%. But and I think the person whoever we did the deal with, they like helped. I think they helped with a little bit of like the closing costs. That was like part of the deal. But either way, I think about it and I'm like, oh my God, whenever I was ponying up all that money to put on this property, I just think, imagine even just putting half of that in an IRA, 401k, index fund it, and then half of it go into a crypto portfolio, or just be as simple as just putting it into Bitcoin. And it's just crazy, because I think about how much money I actually spent after the fact of getting into that house and buying a house, and how much I ended up having to pay over time. And you lose money, you lose money. Like, you end up losing money. You don't get that money back. And I was lucky enough to be able to sell my house and get back some of the money. So I basically just like broke even for what I spent on repairs and random stuff that was just out of our control, that were just like, oh, okay, I guess everything's going up triple, quadruple. And so just imagine that instead of doing that, you just rented and you went down, you scaled back, you scaled down, you didn't scale up, you scaled down, and then reprogrammed your brain to think, no, I need my money to work for me for these next few years, not the other way around. And this is how we have to go into the next couple of years. This is the only way, my friends. I don't want us to get trapped like we got trapped in 2022, 2023. We're still, most of us we're still probably even thinking in that type of mindset. Oh yeah, let me scale up. Let me do this. It's like, no. Don't freaking do it. So when you're in a conversation with your fam, and you're like running the numbers on trying to buy a house, or think you need to put money down, you need to run the numbers on how much money you actually have to spend to purchase this house. And then run the numbers on if you were to put that in an investment account and hold it for the next freaking 5 years. And how much money would you have technically over the next 5-year period on average? That's calculating in pullbacks and just basic market structure, which it's gonna go up and down. But as you can see, if you just wait long enough, you end up in the green. All Bitcoin holders at a point, when we hit that all-time high, anyone at a point who bought Bitcoin was in the green. So you imagine if you were that person that broke out of that matrix programming of thinking you needed to buy a house or own a house because that makes you rich. That makes you look rich. You feel better about yourself when you're a homeowner, or when you tell people, or you post the picture on Instagram with your wife and you have the key in hand. That whole crap is a perceptual trap. It's just like how people, when they look at someone who, they must have this grand life, they're going on vacations all the time. You don't know what the reality is. That you don't know what the reality is. And so this whole perception of like, if you have you're paying for a nice car monthly and you have this big house, and that does not mean you're rich. You could still be broke and living paycheck to paycheck with your big house and your car and all your shit around you. So it's all perception. It's all perception. And so what you end up doing is getting in that trap and thinking, yeah, I got to get all that stuff. Yeah, that'll make me look cool and rich and all these things. But no, it's buying the $3,000 car. It is renting the small apartment. It's eating rice and beans and it's taking your lunch to work. No one tells you that that's actually how you get rich. That's how you get rich. And you invest. And you take every freaking dime, the extra, and put it to work. Put it to work. That is what the goal is. And what is the best like performing assets that we could be doing this with right now? It's crypto. And shit, I mean, it's the stock market now too. We got Roblox. Roblox was going ham recently. I think Roblox just like pushed a 17% move on the week here. And since April, Roblox has just been crushing it, up 173%. So maybe we need to start also paying attention to the gaming stocks. We need to start paying attention to, speaking of gaming stocks, I want to give a shout out to Nakamoto Games. That's one of our favorite low cap game companies that like they produce oh yeah, we'll have to okay, I'm not following any Roblox ecosystems. I know that Roblox is massively popular. There's like game creators on there. There's like game creator houses like of teenagers basically making these games and probably just like banking off of it. And then you got all the Roblox currency, you got the Roblox, you know, that's like where you use the actual Roblox to be able to purchase stuff like inside the game. So it's a giant ecosystem. This is what Naka's doing. Naka's doing the same thing. Naka has a token, which is it's like a gaming token. And you use the Naka token inside of their arcade dashboard, which is basically their dapplication. And they're just building this whole infrastructure and this whole thing. It's all built. It just needs users. It just needs attention. It needs people like me to talk about it. So and test it, because we've actually been testing. You guys have watched this channel long enough. You've seen me actually pull up the platforms. We've played some of the games. We've tested it out, and we like it. You know, it's got some quirks to it. You know, it's not perfect, but they're building their own thing. So it's just like anything. They're hashing out. They're flushing and making all the. I was like fleshing out all of the bugs and things, and seeing how they can really start to get some mainstream adoption. But yeah, and I like the Nakamoto. I like the Nakamoto Games actual name. I just like the name and the branding, the BTC logo, like some dope glasses. But yeah, we definitely like the little niche gaming ecosystems. This is one of them. We also really like Vulcan Forged. That's another one that has this vibrant ecosystem, kind of cult almost, you know, underground underbelly of users, which I think like if they could gain the attention of the World of Warcraft people and the people that are just like really into MMORPGs, Vulcan Forged will start to get some traction again as well. I've mentioned this before on the channel. Just something that you guys should just go and test out. They have multiple tokens that are inside the ecosystem, like the lava token, and also its own chain, also its own layer 2 chain, and then also the actual token Vulcan Forge, the PYR itself. Yeah, this one it's on major exchanges, and yeah, I don't know if you guys have ever tested out any of the games, but one of the games that I actually play with my daughter, which she always asks, she goes, play the running game, and it's Vulcan Runner, and we laugh so hard because of the body mechanics. It's like ragdoll physics. So we have fun doing that one. But all right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit the subscribe button, all that. Want to give a shout out to all the people that are watching today. Really appreciate it. Thank you for coming in and hitting the like button on YouTube. We got Shipman in the house, Chad Wathan, GK. We got Fathead Dave in the house. We have Alexandra G, the mod of all mods. If you see Alexandra G in your live stream, that means you're in the right place. And we haven't actually seen her in a while, so thank you for coming in. And we got Wile E. Coyote, computer freezing up, saying as of just another boring day in crypto, and then we wanted to ask for a poll, and we'll get into one of these tokens. We'll actually look at all three of them, because I think all three of them are pretty undervalued in terms of like where money could start flowing into some of these altcoins whenever we start to see the rotation. And I'll mention what I mean by the rotation. We saw a post from Alex Becker. We're like, yeah, it's kind of how it goes. I mean, we think it's always, might be different. It's different this time, but a lot of the stuff is kind of the same. It's just the nature of like how much liquidity's in and how much is out. And there's more buyers than sellers, then coin go up. That's what we want, right? More buyers than sellers. That's usually what has to happen, is buy pressure to push these freaking things up to the moon. So AVAX being one of them, Polygon, the Pole ecosystem being one of them, and Litecoin being one of them. And we'll go into how these are, I think, in my opinion, pretty undervalued still compared to the rest of the market. And it could be something that could be easy gains. And GK said he got nuked on the AVAX trade. Yeah, guys, it is not easy to trade altcoins. It's not easy. If it was that easy, everyone would be doing it and making massive gains and not getting wrecked. But it's not easy. If it was that and make, you got to react like scaredy cats whenever Bitcoin or Ethereum goes down just like 0.5%. Like Bitcoin goes down 0.51% and alts just go wild, they just start to freak out. So you just have to know that you need to be watching Bitcoin and ETH. You need to be watching how it's moving and make sure that you're on the right side of it. Or you can just be, try to be patient and say, okay, let's see how it's moving here. And let's make sure that we're on the momentum side. And then you could have, for instance, on this liquidity sweep right here, you could see that liquidity sweep on the 30th yesterday, that was off of Jerome Powell being hawkish. But look, exchanges only just used that to basically flush leverage, and they pushed it right back up into the same range. So if they flushed it down there, well, what's the next range? It's 119,000. So all you have to do is just make sure that you weren't, your altcoin trades, like you were like, because that would wreck you. Of course, like this move to the downside was 2%. Well, guess what? It probably made some of those alts go down like 7%, 10%. Look, I mean, like Zeus got hit pretty hard, harder than most of the stuff. If we looked yesterday, or look at the altcoins kind of in general here on the daily, kind of got hit. But we're going to get into these other ecosystems too. We're going to get into the altcoins. We're going to get into things like Pulse Chain and stuff like that. But let's go into AVAX real quick. $23 AVAX. $23 AVAX, okay? Now, we were just at 27, not just a couple days ago. Now you see why you can get easily wrecked, because look at how the altcoins will react and range itself just like Bitcoin and ETH were doing, but it's a lot more aggressive. You're going to get more of a range of 20% up and then 20% right back down. So it's like you have to be like a ninja. You got to be quick. It's you see the range right here. You see the established range, and now you see the buy pressure coming in right here. And also you see it with these the Lux Algo buy, Lux Algo order blocks kind of give you that indication of the range between here and here. So support levels on AVAX, $22, and also just kind of a base 22. Now we're sitting at 23. We just double bottomed here in the short term. that's usually a good sign that we can go right back up into test and break through this order block and get right back up. You just got to make sure you're inside the range and you're looking at some support. You got resistance support here. You got RSI support. So AVAX, though, in terms of institutional adoption, it's getting there. It's got pretty good TVL. Stables are minting on. There's a good amount of stables. It has the infrastructure and the speed and all that stuff to be able to handle gaming transactions. So this is why I think AVAX, and then they got the AVAX Summit, the AVAX dev, like the CEO, can't remember his name, but he always just seems so calm. He's so calm, like he just seems very calm, collected, and isn't like overexcited or he just seems even keeled. So it's just like I like his energy and his attitude, and I don't know. That makes me feel bullish on AVAX. Just seems cool. Like he's like he knows something. He's like he doesn't have to freak out. He doesn't have to worry. But remember AVAX in the last bull run in the bull market in the banana zone, we went to 125. We basically popped up into that 618, that 2618, and we did a Fibonacci extension from the recent high of the Trump pump down to the lows. And what did that bring us into? It brought us this range here of where we could where AVAX is, I think, headed. I think AVAX here, once we start to get our pre-altcoin season, which is leading ETH BTC ratio going back to 0.04, 0.05, this is going to get us in these ranges again. It's going to get us in this top range where this order block is, and that's what I would be looking, especially, I've said this before, if you look at the coins on the weekly, you'll see if they're in a Wyckoff. This isn't a Wyckoff. You can see the obvious double bottom pattern here, and then the consolidation where it kind of goes sideways a little bit, and we've already charted this before. You can see it. So we said, look, it's going to hit here. We're going to get some consolidation. Here's the consolidation, and then we will get a move that will look something like this, which basically pushes us right back into the range of the top of the accumulation. And then that's when institutions are signaled, let's go. We're running it up to the next level, which is the 786 at $47 for AVAX. This, in the short term, would be giving us if you're just spotting this thing, that's 135%. Or sorry, not going back to the 786. Or yeah, to go into the 786, popping that's 136% move to the upside. So really good swing opportunity, and also just spot in general for accumulating something that is, I think, pretty undervalued. So that is for AVAX there. And then when you look at pull, we're going to look at pull, and hold on, wrong one. So now the pull token, when you're looking at the weekly, it's in that, it's doing the same thing. Look at that. Consolidation, and then another, and then this is where you're going to see that through line test right at that order block, where we could see the target. Like that would be my price target right there, pushing a 32-cent pull. Yeah. So let's just kind of find our bottom here for this consolidation. Let's see how the ETF flows are going to be going for ETH and BTC, because that's going to signify momentum going into the weekend. We could potentially rally into the weekend, and then cool off on Monday. We've been doing that recently. Actually, CryptoFace mentioned this. He was like, God, we've been like rallying in the weekend and then dumping and doing a false move on Monday, and then liquidate people on Monday, and then in through the middle of the week it starts to go back up. And so what does this mean? It means we're in the last innings. It means we're in the last innings of this particular section of the bull run, where we've said that this next 75 days, 80 days going into October, the end of October, This lines up with all the metrics from past 4-year cycles of what happens with Bitcoin and just crypto in general when we start to get into that area. And so will it be the same? I mean, we don't know, but we're speculating. We're willing to put risk on the table to get the reward, which is alts going parabolic. And what is going to be the catalyst to make alts do this? Well, it's Ethereum, and it's the ratios of Bitcoin and also Bitcoin dominance. Paying attention to Bitcoin dominance and seeing if we're going to actually get the cool down and pull back into this area, which then would signify us getting more ETH dominance and us getting our altcoin season, which people just laugh at you. They just laugh at you when you say altcoin season, but I get it. They just laugh at you. Dude, am I boring you guys? Am I really boring you that bad on YouTube? Jesus Lord. It's crazy. YouTube is it really has been somewhat of a ghost town. I don't know what's going on. But I get it. You guys are busy. You're busy. Snooze fest. Snooze fest. Oh, but it's okay. I just think I'm being shadow banned too. On YouTube, I'm 100% being shadow banned. They'll put my channel out in the search for like a second, and then that's it. And then they're just being super nasty. But it's not the case on X. See, X, they're actually being really cool. They're being cool. They're actually fine. I think X finally I'm getting pushed into the algorithm, but I do have to give credit to the Sprotos. Sprotos are the reason why that's been happening. So I really appreciate it. But yeah, there's absolutely, I mean, look, this is unacceptable. This is absolutely unacceptable. 2 people. I don't know if is that real? Is that real? We'll just have to take it for what it is. Okay. Let's get into a little bit of the news here. Let's get into a little bit of the news. I really, this popped up in my feed, and it's pretty true, because we all think that all this stuff will save us, but really, if we really want to be honest, let's be honest. Okay, gold isn't going to save you. Silver isn't going to save you. Crypto isn't going to save you. Trump isn't going to save you. Elon isn't going to save you either. A political party isn't going to save you. Jesus and Jesus alone is the only one who can save you. Yeah. Amen to that. Because at the end of the day, all of this stuff, it's just filler, you know? The thing that really will give you joy, enlightenment, you know, happiness, grace, compassion, the ability to be compassionate to others, live a good life, is to follow the ways of Jesus. He was the OG, the GOAT, the original GOAT, the original magician. Magic. Miracles. But he taught us that through me, through the burning heart of Jesus Christ, you too, and only through me, can you also be like me? Pretty crazy. Some people don't think that, though. Some people think that, you know, that wasn't what Jesus was talking about. He was like, look, you know, you can access all this stuff that I'm accessing. You can access it yourself, but only through me. So it was real tricky. He was there because everyone was like, wait, but so are you the Son of God or are you God? Who are you? It's pretty wild. But I like to think that Jesus was really telling us you don't need the third party. You don't need, it was basically Jesus was the first decentralized prophet. He was he was decentralization. Jesus was decentralizing the nature of faith and who you had to go through. You had to go through the church to get access to the knowledge and all this stuff. But no, Jesus was like, no, you can in secret, in your house with your own tribe, you can access the word, the power of God. In secret. Don't have to tell anyone. And that, whoa! So like actually Jesus was decentralizing the nature of reality. Yeah, love it. I like making those connections. Only an ADHD Aquarius can make that connection. Just so you know, it's only a skill that we can do. But check this out. I like this. Shout out to More Light. Harry Potter, Obama, Sonic, Tanidu, tickers, Bitcoin get stronger and stronger by the day, month, year, and decade. When you look at these average newly launched coins, they literally launch up and go to 500 million market cap in 2 days. Fake. That is a run-up, bundled, botted, whatever you want to call it, type of project where there's no way that it will last with that type of run-up. It's just the nature of how supply, demand, and perception of something, and also just thin liquidity works. It will go to zero, and the only way it's going to go up if they continue to keep bundling and having all these different transactions look like there's people buying the thing, and then they get people to buy, and then they dump again, multiple extractions. Then you got the ones that have basically like an open chart. You got multiple different times to get into it and to sell and to buy back and to sell again and to buy back and sell again. But it's a nice, healthy chart. It's like do. It's like a heartbeat. I like the chart, and Jack Mahler's actually explained it. He was like, yo, if I went into the doctor and my heart monitor came up with no volatility of it going like this and moving, he's like, it's dead. It's like it's freaking dead. So this actually looks like a heart monitor of memes. And it's not just this chart too. Like you could say, hey, MOG has that similar life. It had a heartbeat. It's got a heartbeat. This isn't the only chart too. Like Brett, little heartbeat. It's younger, it's newer. So this is why it doesn't have as much, have as much data. Still has a heartbeat. But this is what I love about looking at certain coins like this. It's just got a heartbeat to it, It's natural volatility. So this is why I like particularly things like this and just like these charts. Not because I'm a ticker Bitcoin holder or like that, because it's my favorite meme coin. It's just the nature of the chart. Hey, I don't hold any MOG, but I like this chart. I like that chart. Pretty bullish chart. And I really like the Wojak chart too. It's like I really like the Wojak chart. The Wojak chart I love. Got that locked liquidity. Nice heartbeats. A little different. Say they had a mega pump near Pepe launch. Went up 1,000%, and then went to the floor, but then managed to break all-time highs. Let's see, it tested right there, but then went back into the range, and then tested a new all-time high 2 different times. Boom, boom. But all during these points, though, if you remember, this was when the euphoric phases of Ethereum and whenever we were having our mini altcoin seasons. So I just like charts that look like this. They look good. But let's go, Dave. Let's go, Fathead Dave. But we got 10 likes, though, but I think some people probably just popped in and they had to leave, so I get it. Not everyone can have the attention span to listen to, a thesis of a crypto person on YouTube for too long. But we're streaming. I guess we're going to stream for about just a set hour. So I want to get some time with my daughter we're gonna run around and do some stuff. So yeah, I got about 5 more minutes of going through the thesis for today. But okay, let's see what else we got on the docket here. Check out Pulse Chain. I really liked Sami's take and his thesis. It's kind of the similar thesis as mine, as this is Richard Hart doesn't want to be used as exit liquidity. So, interesting enough, you would think at being in an ecosystem, you want it to pump right now, but then all you're being used for is exit liquidity for the next thing. Because if you think about it, it's all rotating. Everything is being rotated in terms of gains inside the market right now, where the market participants are in. There's no new money really coming in when it comes to retail and all that stuff. But what is going to, at the very end, get attention? Well, retail is going to be the last ones. Retail investors will be the last to come in. It's the institutions, there was the people that were already in crypto. We were here first, and then the institutions, and then we're going to have the retail come in. But then this is what Sami explained. He was like, wouldn't it be terrible and make you feel so crazy that all the people that have been dogging on Pulse Chain this entire time and just saying it's not going to work, Richard Hart's a scammer, end up coming in and buying at a cheaper price than you had the opportunity to this entire time. And then they end up getting gains in an ecosystem they didn't even care about or talk about for years until it was cool to do so when things start to look good. Wouldn't that be terrible? It's kind of how I feel about ticker Bitcoin. It's like, we've been bullish ticker Bitcoin, have been laughing about the thing and knew we faded it a few times and could have been buying more, but got distracted. And now we're like, it's like we feel like we are not going to be that person on ticker Bitcoin where everyone's going to be talking about it. And a rotation will happen from a lot of the trash, garbage memes that are extraction points. And people are going to end up pivoting into the strong ETH memes that are performing really well. This is what Pulse Chain is. It will be the last laugh. It'll be the last laugh where the marketing, the way that Richard Hart's operating, the way that he's been able to basically fully beat the SEC, and not a peep from mainstream media or not a peep from Bloomberg. No one, like, they have all these other people yapping their traps, and all the while we got Richard Hart on the back end creating something that could potentially get the attention of retail better than any other chain could. I think that if we are going to be in an ecosystem that has more potential of upside than maybe possibly any other ecosystem right now, it's probably Pulse Chain. If we want to be really honest with ourselves and actually trust our instincts and our intuition, it was Pulse Chain all along. And so this is going to be very interesting to see how this plays out when we see Bitcoin at $200,000 and ETH at freaking 8K. Where do we think Pulse Chain's going to be? I think we could be at a minimum 10, 15, 20x the ecosystem as a whole. And it only takes a couple $100 getting into some of these ecosystems, especially because no one's looking at it right now. No one cares. They're all focused on Solana, Sui, Ethereum, all that shit. And this is literally where you have an opportunity to get into something massively early and take a risk. And it's not guaranteed. You can lose all your freaking money. You could lose all your money. I'm just going to tell you now. I'm not going to be that type of crypto influencer that's like, well, if you buy Pulse Chain now, you'll be a millionaire. I don't know, but my intuition and my instincts are telling me everyone's looking right. I'm going to look left. Exactly what me and Headband were talking about the other day. You gotta, when people are looking over here, you got someone's master planning manifesto of how to promote a cryptocurrency project properly. And has been giving us the hints on X this whole time, trying to educate us, and we don't want to listen. He's even telling us these people over here are not being truthful or you're trusting all of these people because they're the loudest, squeakiest wheel. No one that ever is the loudest, squeakiest wheel is actually the thing that is the actual real perception of what's actually happening. They're just the loudest one, so that's what you hear. But what's actually happening is the one that isn't saying shit. It's very silently, cryptically saying, hey, this is what I'm doing. Choose to listen or not. So this is where I think possibly some of the biggest gains can happen, but it isn't going to happen. It's going to be the last laugh. I think it will be the last laugh. So and that's what's funny is that because it's not going to be, Richard's not going to let it be used as exit liquidity like everything else is. Everything else is being used as exit liquidity to then buy the actual utility. That's what's hilarious. Look, all those influencers that are promoting all of this garbage, they use those coins to extract to then buy the utility coin that they should have been telling you to pay attention to. But no, they needed to be able to get the money to then buy the stuff that you should have been buying the whole time. Like Thread Guy, for instance. Thread Guy was telling you, buy all these AI garbage coins, whatever, the AI meta, and then disappears when he was calling out to potentially be involved with a bunch of scams, disappears, then comes back and has thousands and thousands of dollars to be able to say, well, now I'm bullish Bitcoin. Now I'm a full port Bitcoin. And it's like, bro, what? Like, I get it. And I know I know everything that you've done was not a scam. I get it. Like, you did some work and some of the stuff I will give you credit for, 100%. But some of it, I'm like, why are you being such a grifter and not being truthful to your audience and your platform when it comes to stuff like that? Because at the end of the day, you got a platform and people are watching you. And so what are you going to do to be ethical about that situation? Do people even think about ethics, or do they just think that they can just get away with everything? I don't know. But that's why I like to be at least responsible and just tell you guys, like, and especially I've even said, hey, if I ever got contacted by a coin and it was like actually looked like a pretty cool thing, maybe it was a meme coin project or something like that, like if they were going to pay me or give me a supply or whatever it is to talk about it, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you about it. I will tell you. I will say, this is a paid promotion. I'm helping this project, whatever. And I'll tell you about it. So then there's no questions or no concerns, or there's no, like, there is a reason that I'm talking about it. We either made a deal or they're wanting some help. They want some help promotion. I mean, that's pretty basic, but most people don't do that. They don't say that. They just give you this like, I found the next blah, blah, blah. No, you didn't. They just contacted you, but why don't you just be fucking honest? So that's how I like to operate, and I'm not going to change. Because I've seen what happens with other people that do that, and it's not a good look. It's not a good look. It ruins your reputation, and you are looked at as a person who can't be trusted. And so I will always operate like this. And I'm only going to work with companies and promote companies that I feel like, that I feel like are worth talking about. And for instance, I talk about the ticker constantly. They don't promote, they don't sponsor channels. They don't do stuff like that. They're not paying me, ticker Bitcoin on the side to talk about it. They don't need to. They don't need to. So whenever you start to feel like it's something's fishy, it probably is. Use your instincts, use your intuition. And that's also could be your edge in this game, is just like, okay, just like figure out where the grifters are and where all the BS is, and just like try and, try to not let it distract you. I know Morad will pump my bags eventually. I don't know. But I think ultimately I will pump my bags. Like, I'm going to pump them. Guess what? I'm an influencer. So if I'm getting paid to talk about it or not, if I'm a billboard. I'm wearing the ticker shirt. People ask me, I'm like, oh, it's Harry Potter Obama Sonic 10 but the ticker's Bitcoin. Most people don't even know what the hell I'm talking about, but maybe eventually they will. But we all got to work for our bags, I get it. You got to work for your bags. You got to work. You want a Maserati? You better work. Okay. I think we've blabbed enough. Check me out on TikTok. We're building up the TikTok. Make sure you follow me there. Make sure you follow me at Dano Crypto 904 on X. Help me get my 3-month impressions up to 5 million impressions. I'm only at 374,000, so I got a long way to go. What else do we want to talk about here? I think that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. Just getting a little bit of volatility in the market. The ETF flows kind of stalled a little bit. As you can see, look at those flows. Were crazy for ETH, and then yesterday was just 20 mil. So if anything, that'll kind of hinder a little bit of the price growth here. But we'll see what happens for today. If we get some inflows in today, we'll see what it looked like for Bitcoin. And this might be widely. Yeah. So look, the ETF flows have a lot to do with what is happening with the price. That's what's really interesting is ETH sustaining over those levels was because look at how much was flowing into it. And so taking a little bit of a breather, maybe we continue to flow into the weekend, or we cool off and then we rally into the weekend. Let's see. But we got to see how Freaky Friday will be. Got to see how Freaky Friday would be tomorrow. And yeah. But we really appreciate you guys coming in. Thank you for giving me your time, your ears, your attention, your eyes, all the stuff. And make sure you are, supporting the channel by using the links in the description. It's the best way you can directly support the channel is by checking out all of the links in the description. We have a option for you guys to do decentralized DEX trading if you'd like with Apex, which is owned by Bybit. So if you trust Bybit and you like their services, but you want to do kind of like a decentralized thing, you can use Apex. Then I like PHEMEX. PHEMEX, shout out to PHEMEX. We're going to be doing we are actually, like I'm saying this now, we are doing a ticker Bitcoin community giveaway special with PHEMEX. Because I know PHEMEX is bullish ticker Bitcoin. You can buy at spots. So we're going to be doing a special giveaway for people who sign up with PHEMEX and start trading. You are going to get some free ticker Bitcoin. So watch out for that. We're going to be getting that campaign set up this week or this weekend and start doing that for the rest of August, for the month of August. And then obviously shout out to OURBIT, one of the main exchanges that we've been trading on, and we really appreciate all the support. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We got a couple different links that you could check out too if you want to do crypto.com, Super Bullish Crow, and crypto.com. We got a lot of different features on here. Just kind of, I feel like outpacing Coinbase in terms of what they're offering for people that are into sports betting and prediction markets and stocks, or just, you know, having option to have a decent app. You got to remember the crypto.com is heavily buddy with Trump and the Trump family, Trump administration. I think they got some kind of Crow deal going on. It's just, yeah, so I've just kind of been, and I've liked Crow for a long time. I think crypto.com was one of the first apps that I downloaded, along with Coinbase, along with Voyager and Gemini. I just downloaded them all. And out of all of them, besides, you know, Voyager was the one I mainly started to use, but crypto.com was like the one on the side. I was like, all right, this is the one I'm going to still you know, get familiar with. And I've always appreciated it. So, and the debit card's got good support too. Pretty good support. You always want to use a card or a debit card that you can actually contact them and be like, what's going on? Why is this not working? Blah, 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 you know. So that's usually very valuable. And yep, that's all the shilling. That's all the shilling for today. And we really appreciate you guys. We love you guys. Yeah, we can't do it without you, you know. We can't do this show without you guys. So you guys showing up, as well as me showing up every day, this is what we have to do. We have to show the people, we have to show the market, we have to show the people that are on the sidelines that we are not as crazy as we sound, you know? We're not that crazy. We might be on to something here. So shout out to Headband, shout out to Chad Jeets, shout out to Fathead Dave, shout out to all the people that are still tuning in to the very end of this live stream, and we will see you on the next one. Peace out. Peace, peace, peace.
This token is the end game. It's the shitcoin of shitcoin. I mean, imagine telling your coworkers you're quitting because Harry Potter, Obama, Sonic 10, and you coin. Boom! Imagine the media reporting on Harry Potter, Obama, Sonic 10, and you. Ticker is Bitcoin, breaking 1 billion market cap. Now, unless you hate money, go ahead and visit
HPOSNI.com.